it is 6:30 PM on Wednesday, August 12th, 2020, and this is your Common Council of the City of Wasa meeting. First order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise with us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Next up, roll call will be called by Clerk Leslie.
Peckham. Here. Martins. Here. Killian.
Here.
Neal.
Here.
Wadinsky.
Here.
McElhaney. Rasmussen.
Here.
Watson.
Here.
Herbst. Here. Larson.
Here.
Ryan. Alder Ryan.
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda are proclamations. I have 3 of them tonight, so I'll read them all to you. The first proclamation is for Adrenal Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas adrenal cortical carcinoma is an extremely rare cancer that impacts approximately 1 in a million people annually, most doctors and oncologists will never see a single case of it in their lifetime. This lack of understanding in the medical community results in delays in diagnosis, improper surgical removal of these rare tumors, and significant delays in treatment. Whereas adrenal cortical carcinoma is an extremely aggressive cancer with a poor prognosis, lack of awareness and funding for this rare cancer has resulted in only 1 approved FDA medication, and that medication often serves only to delay progression in about 30% of patients. Whereas adrenal cancer impacts people of any age, gender, race, or background, including individuals living in Wausau, Wisconsin. Whereas adrenal cancer treatment can be very disabling, and this disability can result in social isolation, street on the families of those impact, and financial hardship. The closest center for excellence for the treatment of adrenal cancer are outside of the state of Wisconsin, and this places an extremely difficult demands upon very sick patients. Whereas adrenal cortical carcinoma, even when removed surgically, often recurs and has a very poor prognosis, causing tremendous pain and suffering for those impacted and their loved ones. Whereas increased awareness about adrenal cortical carcinoma will help patients get diagnosed and treated earlier, find appropriate medical care at a center of excellence, raise awareness within the medical community about this rare cancer, help fund research and foster support for individuals and families coping with adrenal cancer in our community. Whereas the adrenal cancer community encourages the public to celebrate and recognize Adrenal Cancer Awareness Month each August and around the world. Now therefore I, Katie Rosenberg, Mayor of the City of Wasa, do hereby proclaim the month of August as Adrenal Cancer Awareness Month. We have Julie Hansen here to accept this proclamation. Right. The next proclamation is the Voter Rights Act of 1965. We're commemorating the 55th year. Whereas the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson on August 6, 1965, with civil rights leaders, including Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., present at the signing. And whereas, while the 15th Amendment made it unconstitutional for anyone to be denied the right to vote based on race or color, intentional voter disenfranchisement continued. And whereas among the law's numerous significant provisions were the prohibitions of voter suppression, tools like literacy tests at the polls, along with the institution of federal oversight and enforcement means aimed at states with a history of discriminatory election processes. And whereas the immediate effects of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 included a significant rise in voter turnout across our country, and whereas voting is the tool by which Americans build a government that represents them and is the mechanism by which they hold that government accountable. And whereas the right to vote must be closely guarded, voter participation must be actively encouraged and increased. and barriers to voting must be eliminated, including supporting nonpartisan redistricting and ensuring accessibility of appropriate voter identification. Now therefore, I, Katie Rosenberg, Mayor of the City of Wasa, do hereby proclaim August 6, 2020 as the 55th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 in Wasa, and call on all residents to make their voices heard at the polls and exercise their right to vote. We have another one, last one for tonight, celebrating the 19th Amendment. Whereas August 26, 2020 will mark the National Centennial of the 19th Amendment officially becoming part of the United States Constitution after the required 36 states had ratified, and whereas the state of Wisconsin was the first state to ratify the 19th Amendment, allowing women the right to vote, and whereas Marathon County was home to notable Wisconsin suffragists, including Mary W. Bentley and Almedia B. Gray, who were both Wisconsin Women's Suffrage Association board officers. And whereas the fight for women's suffrage from the first Women's Rights Convention to enfranchisement lasted 72 years, with women from all walks of life, political views, and demographic backgrounds asking for the right to voice their opinions at the polls. And whereas the state of Wisconsin took this historic vote on June 10, 1919, ratifying the 19th Amendment in the state of Wisconsin, and whereas daughters, granddaughters, and great-granddaughters of the women who fought so hard to vote have been making their voices heard at the polls for nearly 100 years, and whereas it still took 45 more years to recognize and ratify the vote for all Americans, and whereas women are running for office in record numbers, may all current politicians remember that they follow in the footsteps of these brave suffragists. And whereas all government entities at the local, state, and national level should commemorate and recognize this historic milestone and reaffirm its commitment to empowering and uplifting the voices of women. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Katie Rosenberg, Mayor of the City of Wasa, invite all residents to celebrate and recognize the 100th anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution, providing for women's suffrage that honors the role of ratification of the 19th Amendment in promoting core values of our democracy as set forth in the Constitution of the United States, and reaffirms our desire to continue strengthening democratic participation and to inspire future generations to cherish and preserve the historic precedent established by the 19th Amendment. And just to let you know, there are a couple women's suffrage events coming up this weekend. One on the 400 block starting at 10 a.m. And then there's another statewide virtual women's suffrage centennial celebration. You can look it up. It's on the Wisconsin Historical Society website. So let's celebrate. All right. Moving on to public comment. We're ready for any pre-registered citizens for matters appearing on the agenda or other public comment.
We don't have any tonight.
All righty. We are moving on to committee reports. Looks like the Board of Public Works has a report in our packet. Yes. So I don't know if you want to say anything, or we'll just place it on file.
Yep.
All right, we're placing it on file. Next up is our consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to accept our consent agenda. Motion by Neal.
Excuse me.
Second by Peckham. Yes, Alder Ryan.
I was hoping we could pull the committee of the name change for the mayor's welcoming and inclusivity committee.
Yes. Which item is that? What number?
19-0409.
Here we go. Yep, okay. We will pull that.
Thank you.
And we'll discuss that
Thank you.
separately. All right. Is there any discussion on consent? Are we ready to vote? I think we're ready to vote.
Okay. Peckham? Aye. Martins? Aye. Killian?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Wadinsky?
Aye.
McElhaney? Rasmussen? Aye. Watson?
Aye.
Herbst? Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. All right, and we will go to item number 19-04-09, resolution approving the name change for the Mayor's Welcoming and Inclusivity Committee. Can I have a motion? Motion by Neal, second by Killian. Any discussion here? I do have a statement from the Inclusivity Committee if you'd like me to read it. I don't have a problem doing that. Otherwise, Alder Ryan, did you have some comments?
Why don't I make my comments first?
Okay.
I guess I haven't been going to the meetings recently, but that, and I guess I'm not sure where the committee is going, but it does seem that, in my opinion, there needs to be, I don't know if in this committee or in the new committee, but I know like for the city of Madison, they have a committee for dealing with issues with people with disabilities and I believe with seniors as well. And then I have been talking to a number of seniors that are not connected, that they're the older range, don't have computers. And so in some instances, we are losing communication with some people if it's not within our newsletters. So I'm not sure where this committee name change and what direction it's going, but I thought we should mention that there are people with disabilities or other seniors that may be interested as well in some other way of being able to be tied into the city and in better communication with residents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess I have just a comment on this, and I have been following the minutes, although the minutes for the committee are a little bit scant, but, when we first considered, and we did decide early on that the group should decide what it wants to call itself, and so obviously this is the product of that, but I question whether the name they chose accurately depicts the scope of what they're trying to achieve. And so by picking the freedom and liberation wording, are they in some way restricting themselves or not really articulating that mission? Because the original vision for the committee was that it would think of ways and propose initiatives that would make Wausau a more welcoming community for everybody, for people, for businesses, for new residents, for residents that are already here. So that it wasn't even about race necessarily. It was about how do we make Wausau an attractive place where everybody wants to come and live and be? And, how do we remove barriers to that? And, make it so that when people come to Wausau as a new resident, they don't feel and aren't treated like an outsider, regardless of who they are or what they look like. And so, I hope that the new name doesn't narrow their mission, because we wanted a really broad mission. We wanted to be the place to be, and we wanted people to see us that way and convey that image. And we knew that we had work to do to get there, but, the name isn't everything. But I certainly hope that they would continue on that path, whether they get the new name or not, and recognize that the core mission needs to be that everyone is welcome here and that everyone is included. And I hope that they don't, let the new name restrict their purpose.
Sure, and I guess I should mention the chair of the committee, Blake, wanted to be here tonight, but has some family things to take care of. So he sent me this memo. Maybe I'll just read it, and hopefully it answers a couple of questions. So he says that the Mayor's Welcoming and Inclusivity Committee unanimously voted to change the committee name pending City Council approval to the Liberation and Freedom Committee. The previous committee name was quickly selected so the committee could officially be formed and meet to discuss goals and objectives. After further review, our committee members decided upon the words liberation and freedom for its positive word choice and identifying the intention of the committee's purpose. The committee is currently undertaking a strategic planning process. Below is an update on the committee's approved mission statement and objectives. So here's the mission statement. Liberation and Freedom Committee is a volunteer committee established to promote an environment that accepts, celebrates, and appreciates diversity within the community by proactively identifying areas of discrimination, providing education, communication, and recommendations to the City Council and the Mayor of the City of Wausau. The goals and objectives, he lists 3, serve as a resource for city government and the community by proactively identifying forms of discrimination and providing information, education, and communication that facilitate a better understanding and celebrates our differences. Providing recommendations to the mayor and city council to identify opportunities to address diversity issues, promote diversity programs, and provide guidance to create a more open, safe, and welcoming and inclusive government and community. And lastly, developing and recommending an ongoing diversity and inclusion plan, performance measures, and best practices. And I guess part of the reason I think that took us there is during our discussion, we talked about how a lot of programs are no longer calling themselves diversity programs. They're actively calling themselves anti-racism kind of training or things like that. So I think this group wanted to focus on something that was maybe a little more positive and not anti-something. And also, again, kind of recognizing Alder Ryan's comments that, diversity isn't just about what you notice about somebody, it's about, abilities and other, and ages and things like that. So it's definitely, I want to say that they're focused on what's broad. Alder Neal, maybe you'd like to elaborate a little bit.
Well, just very briefly, the committee is, and has from the get-go been very focused on any potentially marginalized, individual or population group. And, in some of the discussions, the use of the word, welcoming, kind of, for some, kind of made it sound like we're the welcome wagon, we're, the Chamber of Commerce, hello, welcome to Wisconsin, or to Wausau. And that's really not the gist of, what they're trying to accomplish. The freedom and liberation words, I think, really relate to, as you mentioned, Alder Rasmussen, barriers, things that get in the way of people achieving, fulfillment in life or feeling welcomed, feeling part of the community. So by doing things to mitigate and remove barriers and to open things up is a sense of liberation, from being held back and, freedom from barriers. So that's sort of the thought, I think, that went behind the choice of those words. I was in the meeting when, the word liberation popped up and the whole room kind of lit up because it really seemed to capture the feeling of just loosening chains that hold anybody back in any way, whether that's somebody with a disability, whether that's a senior citizen, or any ethnicity, or any other demographic we can think of. So that's pretty much what it is identifying things that get in the way and finding ways to remove those barriers.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion, or are we ready to vote? I think we're ready to vote. Oh, Alder Ryan, did you have a comment?
Don't,
Oh, I see your hand is still raised, so just making sure.
Oh,
I think we're ready to vote.
Ryan,
I,
Larson,
Aye.
Herbst. Watson. Rasmussen,
Aye.
Peckham. Martins. Killian,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Wadinski,
Aye.
McElhaney. Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. We are moving on. I guess I would ask if there's no objection to move the mayor's appointments to past the creation of the policing task force, since we need to appoint people to things that exist, so I need you to vote on that first. So we'll move on to item number 200804. It's a resolution out of CISM approving the state municipal agreement for Stewart Avenue from South 72nd Avenue to South 48th Avenue. Do I have a motion? Motion by Rasmussen, second by Larson. Is there any discussion? Looks like we can go ahead and vote on this.
Rasmussen,
Aye.
Watson. Herbst. Larson.
Aye.
Ryan,
I,
McElhaney. Wadinski,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Killian,
Aye.
Martins. Peckham. Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. We're moving on to item number 200806, a resolution from CISM approving temporary limited easement for the construction of a trail at 800 North First Street, that's Doctors Park LLP, and 810 North First Street, Doctors Park Partnership. Do I have a motion? Motion by Rasmussen,
Yes.
second by Wadinski. Do you have a discussion? Is there any discussion? I'm not seeing any. Ready to vote?
Peckham. Martins. Killian,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Wadinski,
Aye.
McElhaney. Rasmussen,
Aye.
Watson,
Aye.
Herbst. Larson,
Aye.
Ryan.
I,
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. Before we get into the next two items, I guess I would just ask our finance director to give us a little bit of background on the general obligation promissory notes that we're talking about. It is my understanding that we are voting on refinancing and shortening the terms of our debt, so I just want to make sure we're all clear on what we're doing here, because it is a great time to refinance.
Yes, thank you. And we do have our financial advisors are on the phone too as well. So if you have questions for them, they certainly are listening in. So we have two debt issues before you. One is for our regular capital projects. I emailed you the finance memo last week so that you would have that, and then I think that was incorporated then into the packet. That's part of our annual CIP plan. So last November, when Common Council approved the budget, that set in place the start of this borrowing. So, because of that adopted budget, the engineering department has been working to implement the various infrastructure projects that were included in the budget. And we have been waiting for all of the bids to come in so that we felt good about the dollar amount. And of course, we are entering the market at probably the best time of the year. Interest rates will be at historic lows, so we will be able to take advantage of that. That first issue is a 10-year note. It's a stable payment over that 10-year period, similar to your mortgage where you pay the same amount each year. As you pay off that debt, more goes to the principal and less goes to the interest. And like I said, it will be a very favorable interest rate. And I attached the list of projects that it's funding. You can see that the majority of it is street projects and other capital infrastructure projects. The second debt is actually refinancing a debt that we took out to do the business campus expansion where Great Lakes Cheese and Wasa Chemical is. At the time, we financed it through what's called anticipation notes, so that we would have a good understanding of what the values would be in that district, so that we could match the repayment schedule to the revenue stream for the increments. We now have a good understanding of what the increment is going to be. That loan actually is not due this year, but we're paying it off early. And we are proposing a 15-year retirement. We actually funded those projects with 2 anticipation notes. The other one will be available for early call next year. And so again, we'll call that. This 15-year issue, we would have opportunities to call it early in the last 5 years of its existence. So after year 10, we would be able to retire the debt early if we find that the district's financials improved even further. Right now, in looking at the early call next year, I'm anticipating that we would issue a 10-year note, so it would be a shorter time period. And again, we would have even an earlier call on that note. So it's really reducing the interest rates on this refinancing and paying off the debt sooner.
Okay, I would entertain a motion for item number 200807, the resolution providing for the sale of approximately $5.4 million in general obligation promissory notes, Series 2020D. Motion by Rasmussen, do I have a second? Second by Herbst. Is there any discussion? Yes, Alder Killian.
I just wanted to clarify in here and for the public, these costs and budget items, they were initiated in 2019 by the last council and
Correct.
the administration. Those of us sitting here today who weren't on that, we had nothing to do with the approval of some of those costs. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and with the Riverside Park Trail and the budget of $1,500,000, that includes the road and seawall as well. Could I get an estimate of what that trail cost is? Is it possible to break that out?
Oh, no. And that project isn't being funded with this debt. Because of the TID requirements, we actually funded that through a state trust fund loan back earlier in the spring. But I'm sure we could get an itemization of what that cost breakdown is, but I don't have that right now.
Sure.
But I'd like to expand a little bit on your comment about the budget being approved back in 2019. You know, based on our rules, that does authorize staff to go forward with projects because the budget has been set. You know, as driving around the city, I'm sure you're all aware that, you know, most of these projects are well underway and actually, you know, in some instances nearing completion. And so, you know, if the funding is not approved, that is going to have, you know, a negative impact on our reserves. And this is just the first vote on the borrowing. So the actual sale will take place on August 26th. This vote basically tells staff, we want you to spend the money to actually issue the debt, to develop the official statement and promote the sale. So, you know, if we get a positive vote tonight, we would expect a similar vote on August 26th because, you know, not only will our financial consultants and our bond counsel spend resources to get us ready for the sale, but the private sector that would actually bid on this will also, you know, be incurring costs to put their proposal together. So if we're not going to approve that sale, you know, now would be the time to make that known because we would, you know, look bad to the bond market if we didn't approve it after we had approved the initial resolution. I'm not suggesting that you don't approve it tonight. I'm suggesting very strongly that you approve it again. You know, they're a 10-year issue and interest rates are at historic lows. And, you know, I think all councils are in a situation where they have to carry forward decisions that have been made by others. And, you know, certainly I appreciate that. But I think that the projects that are being undertaken with this borrowing are, you know, like I said, mainly street projects. And I think we all hear from our constituents that street improvements are an important part, and delayed and deferrals in our maintenance of the streets really is a compounding problem then. Thank you.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yes, thank you for that information. So in short, though, this was the last council
It was the
administration.
last
Okay, just
council,
wanted to
yeah.
clarify that. And then with Great Lakes Cheese and Wasa Chemical, we're not building roads on those properties, are we? Those are,
Right, those projects are
Yes.
already completed.
yes, so just wanted to clarify that. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. I think that the important thing for us to convey to residents that are watching us and to those that we encounter along the way is that this process and the way that we are restructuring this debt and the interest rates that we're able to secure are actually a positive. So they allow us to retire more of our debt faster and still get our projects done, many of which are underway. So that's a serious positive. I think over the last few years, we've worked hard to aggressively retire debt and set ourselves on a schedule so that, you know, within the next 10 years, we'll be able to really bend that debt curve down in a positive way. And this contributes to that effort. And I know all of us along the, you know, going through the election process earlier this year, heard from a lot of our constituents that they would like to see us find a way to retire debt early when we can and close TID districts early when we can. And so this really dovetails with a lot of those comments that we heard from residents and promises that we made to them.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion tonight on this item? I think we're ready to vote.
Peckham. Martins. Killian.
No.
Neal.
Aye.
Wadinsky.
Aye.
McElhaney. Rasmussen.
Aye.
Watson.
Aye.
Herbst.
Aye.
Larson.
No.
Ryan.
Aye.
Motion passes 9-2.
All right, we are moving on to item number 2008, the resolution providing for the sale of approximately $6.7 million in taxable general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2020E. Do I have a motion? Motion by Rasmussen, second by Herbst. Is there any discussion? Alder McElhaney.
Thank you. I would like to get some clarification about how much are we saving from getting rid of the ban? I voted against the ban those years ago. That has quite a bit of high interest rates. So how much I'd like to know if you have any guesstimate of the savings that we will be getting from refinancing that.
Phil, do you have your analysis there?
I apologize. This is Phil Costin with Elders. I apologize. I don't have that. What I can share with you is that, we are looking to match, take out that short-term NAN. Think of that as a construction loan that was set up for TID 11 to get the infrastructure in place to allow for the business expansions to occur. Now that they have, what we're doing is matching the revenues anticipated in TID 11 with the debt service to be able to pay that off over as quick of a time as possible. With the rates that we're talking about today, we would expect that we'd be able to close that district out earlier than its maximum life. But I don't have a savings analysis since we are stretching this debt out to match up with the revenues of that tax increment district.
Thank you. Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. And I think one, I guess easily explainable way to put it is that when you refinance something like that that's been financed in a TID, the tax increment dollars that are generated by the projects that we funded there, now that they're up and they're paying taxes, their money is retiring that debt,
Yes.
and not every taxpayer in Wasa. So, I think that when you use tax increment to retire a debt, the people who got the benefit pay back the money.
Right.
And that's why this is a good idea.
And I had provided to the Finance Committee the projected cash flow for the district, and it did show that the district will remain in the black during its life. So it's not going to draw upon general fund reserves. And like I said, we'll be very motivated to, retire that district as early as possible. I know we saw, a huge increase in our equalized value last year because of Great Lakes cheese. And the preliminary equalized values that came out on August 1st showed nearly a 4% additional growth in that district. And the city as a whole saw a 9% increase in equalized value. So, I think some of these developments are starting to show how we can actually grow the community's tax base through tax increment financing.
Is there any? Yes, Alder Killian.
Just a broad question on the numbers. What is the current debt load of the city right now? Do you know that number offhand?
Have it. I do know that, when we look at the projections, we are below, our policy requires that we stay below 50% of our capacity. We are below that 50% of capacity. We're in, the mid-40s range right now. And the presentation that I gave to finance shows that, by following our $2.5 million for CIP each year, and with refinancing this so that we are retiring principal, because right now we're not retiring principal on that debt. So, we're just holding that principal at a static amount. We did see a major drop in our outstanding principal in the next 5 years.
Mary Ann, if I can add, in your council packet on page 100, as part of our pre-sale reports, we do, under authority, identify the borrowing capacity and what remains as part of that. So as you can see in this, you'll see that 48% of the capacity has been used, and there's about 79, almost $80 million of capacity remaining. So you are under the 50%. What this does not take into account is the growth that Mary Ann just referenced, that 9% growth in EV. So right now it shows that you're at 48% of your limit. When you incorporate that 9% growth, you're probably more like 43, 44% of your borrowing capacity. So you're well under the 50%, even taking into account these issues.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion or any questions? I think we're ready to vote.
Ryan,
Aye.
Larson,
No.
Herbst. Watson,
Aye.
Rasmussen,
Aye.
Peckham. Martins. Killian,
No.
Neal,
Aye.
Wadinsky,
Aye.
McElhaney.
Aye.
Motion passes 9-2.
All right, thank you. We're moving on to item number 191109, resolution approving the 2020 budget modification for police capital projects. Do I have a motion? Motion by Neal, second by Watson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I think we're ready to vote.
Rasmussen,
Aye.
Watson,
Aye.
Herbst,
Aye.
Larson,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
McElhaney, Wadinsky,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Killian,
Aye.
Martins. Peckham. Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. We're moving on to item number 200811. It's a resolution from the HR Committee approving the amendment to the city's position management system. Do I have a motion? Motion by Larson, second by Martins. Is there any discussion on this? Not seeing any. I think we're ready to vote.
Peckham. Martins. Killian,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Wadinsky,
Aye.
McElhaney, Rasmussen,
Aye.
Watson,
Aye.
Herbst, Larson,
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 200808. It's a resolution from the Human Resources Committee approving granting paramedic incentive pay to fire battalion chiefs. Do I have a motion? Motion by Larson, second by Herbst. Is there any discussion? Not seeing any. We're ready to vote.
Ryan,
Aye.
Larson,
Aye.
Herbst, Watson,
Aye.
Rasmussen,
Aye.
Peckham, Martins,
Aye.
Killian,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Wadinsky,
Aye.
McElhaney. Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you. Item number 200310, it's a resolution from the Human Resources Committee ratifying the revised policy for employees with symptoms or exposure of the novel COVID-19 coronavirus. Do I have a motion? Motion by McElhaney, second by, oh my gosh,
Wadinsky.
Wadinsky. I kept wanting to say Hanson, which makes zero sense, so thank you. Is there any discussion other than, I need name tags facing me. Thank you. I think we're ready to vote.
McElhaney. Aye. Wadinsky,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Killian,
Aye.
Martins, Peckham, Rasmussen,
Aye.
Watson,
Aye.
Herbst, Larson,
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 200814, a resolution from the Economic Development Committee approving the sale of 1.92 acres of Wasa Business Campus land to Diversified companies for $1 for the construction of a fleet maintenance facility at 1078 South 84th Avenue. Do I have a motion? Motion by Neal. Do I have a second?
Let me try this again.
Second by Wadinsky? I have it here. I'm looking at it now. Is there any discussion on this item? Alder McElhaney.
I would like somebody to clarify when this was passed by ED.
If I may.
Yes, Alder Neal.
And Mr. Fitzgerald, I'm sure can clarify, because I'm a little hazy. It was passed towards the end of last year. It wasn't acted on by council because I think it had to go through some sort of wetlands delineation process, and that only recently came to fruition, and now the requester wants to go ahead and build. Mr. Fitzgerald, anything to add to that?
Thank you, Alderman Hill. Yeah, it was approved, it went to ED Committee first in October last year, was approved by ED Committee in December, and then has not come before the council since then. The parcel itself is being broken off of an existing piece of land in the industrial park, and in order to create a certified survey map of that parcel, the city needed to do a wetland delineation on that property, and that couldn't be done until after the snow and ice had melted. So it was done this spring. The results came through in late July. The builder has been ready to go, and is hoping to have their facility erected by before the snow flies this year, I guess they've said.
Thank you. Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. It's also important to recognize that one of the things we considered in committee is about 1.5 acres is all that's developable on the parcel because it is wetland impacted, and they did commit to creating 5 jobs along with that transfer, so.
Is there any, Alder Killian?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Well, the consistent sale of city land for $1 does concern me in certain regards. I believe that the asking rate or general rate that is asked by the city for 1 acre in that area is $12,500. And, we've got roughly 2 acres here, break it down to 1.5 with the wetlands. This happened some time ago, not for $1, but for less than the asking rate. In that industrial park, we've got Blinker in my neighborhood asking for $170,000 worth of city-owned land for $1. These things all add up, and with the city's expressed concerns about revenue and budget, if you look in the agenda this evening, farther down below, we say we don't have the money to pay for closed caption to help the hearing impaired, but yet time and time again, we're selling city-owned land for $1. So I think, if we continue to undercut our revenue opportunities with city-owned land, we may continue to face some challenges when it comes to the costs of other needed services. So I'd surely like to see the land sold at a market or asking rate. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion here? Alder McElhaney.
Thanks. What was the building amount that I know you said 5 jobs, but what was the tax base on this?
350,000. We figured our return on investment that we would make back what would have been a per acre price in taxation in less than 4 years. I think that was what we had talked about. I mean, it was,
So low.
depends on what it assesses at, but that was their estimated value.
Alder Watson.
I guess I'm looking back at what we did in July with the tent company, and I guess it would be more reasonable to do something similar to that. I know they also had undevelopable parts due to the wetlands, and we gave them a little bit of a deal, but not $1. I think it was 20, did we say? I don't know, just a suggestion.
Okay. Is there any discussion or amendments? Okay, I guess we are ready to vote.
Peckham. Martins. Killian.
No.
Neal.
Aye.
Wedinski.
Aye.
McElhaney.
No.
I'm sorry, was that aye or no?
No.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
Watson.
No.
Herbst. Larson.
No.
Ryan.
No.
Motion fails 5-6.
Okay. Next up, I'm asking you to suspend the rules for a couple of the items coming up here. I would entertain a motion to suspend the rules 6B, filing, and 12A, referral of resolutions. This does require a 2/3 majority vote. Do I have a motion? Motion by Neal, second by Rasmussen. I think we're ready to vote. I don't see any discussion here.
Ryan.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Herbst.
Aye.
Watson.
Aye.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
McElhaney.
Aye.
Wadinsky.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Killian.
Aye.
Martins.
Aye.
Peckham.
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. Next up, agenda number 200812, the resolution creating the Wasa Policing Task Force. As you'll remember, I talked to you about this at our last council meeting, that I wanted to create this task force to kind of talk through our processes, give some opportunity for some deliberate inquiry into our training and our practices. We went out there, I had a draft, and I got some feedback. We did a virtual and some, had lots of feedback, in person, email. I think about 20 people showed up to our virtual town hall about this. So before you, you can see the updated version of it. You can see the folks coming up next who I'm planning on appointing to this task force. I would entertain a motion to approve this before maybe taking any questions. Motion by Neal, second by Peckham. Is there any discussion on this item? Or maybe you don't have any. All right, I guess we're ready. Oh, I guess we're ready to vote.
McElhaney?
Aye.
Wadinsky?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Martins?
Aye.
Peckham? Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Herbst?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
All right, thank you, everyone. And I'm going to be moving the mayor's appointments now. That's item number 200803, including the members that I'd like to appoint to this policing task force. Can I have a motion? Motion by Killian, second by Watson. Is there any discussion on this? Doesn't look like it. I think we're ready to vote.
McElhaney? Wadinsky?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Martins?
Aye.
Peckham? Ryan?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Herbst?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Rasmussen?
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the citizens and folks that are willing to serve on this. We have our work cut out for us, so we'll be getting to work very quickly here. Moving on to item number 020432, ordinance amending Chapter 2.16, the standing rules of the Common Council, Rule 2, quorum required. Do I have a motion? Motion by Rasmussen. Second by Herbst. Is there any discussion here? Doesn't look like it. We're ready to vote.
Peckham? Martins?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Wadinsky?
Aye.
McElhaney? Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Herbst?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you. Item number 200813, ordinance creating section 1.08.035, split shifts for election officials. Maybe before we to entertain a motion, Clerk Leslie, would you like to just give a brief summary?
Absolutely. I attended a training recently, and one of the things that was talked about was elections, and this particular item was brought up that if you are a clerk that wants to use split shifts for election workers, that you need to have that as an ordinance in your elections chapter. So we're just basically doing this just to be in compliance.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion. Motion by Larson, second by Herbst. Is there any discussion? Doesn't look like it. Looks like we're ready to vote.
Rasmussen?
Hold on.
Oh, do we have a oh,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just had made the comment, I want to make the comment, I have been a chief election inspector for several years, and I like the idea. I think this is wonderful that they can have a split shifts, that they can actually have three of them, because I'm telling you, when you have to be there at 6
I
o'clock.
don't think your mic is on. We're not.
When you have to
Thank
be
you.
there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and as a chief election inspector, it might be 10:30, 11 by the time you get to City Hall. That's a long day. And for the workers that are there, just that they're there from 7 in the morning till 8 is a long day. So I think these split shifts is a wonderful idea. Wonderful. I'm very much in favor of it.
Is there any further discussion? All right, I think we're ready to vote.
Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Herbst?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Peckham?
Aye.
Martins?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Wadinsky?
Aye.
McElhaney?
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you. Item number 200809, a resolution from the Finance Committee approving contract for backup residential inspection services with the town of Rib Mountain. Do I have a motion? Motion by Rasmussen, second by Herbst. Any discussion? Yes, Alder Killian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wondered about the town of Rib Mountain's current disposition on assisting the city of Wausau with some of its transportation goals. And the reason I ask that question is because I think it's great to cooperate with surrounding towns and municipalities, but it seems that in the past, there's been some trouble with cooperation there. And I think I will support this tonight, but I hope that our surrounding municipalities and towns also show us the courtesy of working with the city, especially on the transit realm. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know who is next. Alder Larson?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Your mic's not on.
One of the things I'm concerned about is this going to be cutting our staff a little thin, and how much time is involved? Are we going to be able, are we going to have to hire extra staff?
Sure, I would invite our director, Eric Lindman, to the,
Yeah, hi Lou. Yeah, it's a good question. I think with the residential services, really, it's kind of a backup. So Rib Mountain has one inspector, and so if he goes on vacation for a week or gets hurt or something, this isn't a constant thing. So, so for the residential inspections, no, we'll be able to cover that, so, yep.
Thank you.
thank you. Alder Rasmussen?
Thank you. I guess on behalf of the Finance Committee, we had our zoning chief, Bill Hebert, with us at the meeting, and we asked him some of those questions. He did indicate that the sole inspector in the village of Rib Mountain has worked there for 5 years and has never had a vacation. That said, his supervisor thought it was time, and finding him a backup was certainly a sensible way to look at it. He thought it would maybe be a week or two of work a year, and they would certainly charge a fee for that service. They wouldn't do it for free. And we've also offered similar relief services to Weston and Schofield in the past successfully, and he felt that his workforce could manage it. Same thing on the next item with the commercial. Very limited amount of scope for our people to be there, but it does start to build that relationship of cooperation, which, Lord knows needs building. So sometimes you start with the small things, and then later on you can talk about bigger things. So all of the finance items that you see tonight that are coming same night passed finance unanimously tonight.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? I think we're ready to vote.
Ryan?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Herbst? Aye. Watson? Aye. Rasmussen?
Aye.
McElhaney?
Aye.
Wadinsky?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Martins?
Aye.
Peckham?
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 191109. It's a resolution from the Finance Committee approving, I skipped one. It's actually Resolution 200809, a resolution from the Finance Committee approving contract for commercial inspection services with the town of Rib Mountain. Do I have a motion? Motion by Larson. Second by Martins. Any discussion on this? I think we're ready to vote.
Peckham?
Aye.
Martins?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Wadinsky?
Aye.
McElhaney? Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson? Herbst?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. We are now moving on to item number 191109, a resolution from the Finance Committee approving engagement of additional services with ACT Services and related budget modification. Do I have a motion? Motion by Rasmussen, second by Martins. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none? No. Nope. We're ready to vote.
Ryan?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Herbst?
Aye.
Watson? Rasmussen?
Aye.
Peckham?
Aye.
Martins?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Wadinsky?
Aye.
McElhaney? Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 190406, a resolution from the Finance Committee adopting a statement of purpose of ADA Title II compliance. Do I have a motion? Motion by Martins. Second by Herbst. Is there any discussion? I'm not seeing, Alder Killian.
On the 88.
Yes,
Yes.
that is where we are.
Well, I'm a little concerned about the status of this item in terms of, is there something we can do, and please clarify, I guess, if I'm misreading the statement. Am I correct in interpreting it that our statement kicks this can down the road on the ADA compliance? I mean, it still keeps us, I suppose, compliant, but without taking action to accommodate those who may need closed captions. And I would just have some, if that's correct, I'd have some follow-up questions on what's the timing where we are going to fully fund what it would take to provide the closed caption. So is there anyone, I don't know if that would be for, here we go.
Yes, we have Dave here who can.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm doing double duty tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, this is an annual process that we're engaging in. We're currently claiming that with our $70,000 budget, that the closed captioning services would basically blow us out of the water. We wouldn't be able to produce what we produce now. The process is going to be reviewed annually, and if it becomes, feasible for us to afford it, yes, we would do that. It would take a fairly substantial increase in our budget, though. Right now, the methods that we are using are broadcasting on YouTube, and I don't know if you've used the closed captioning on there. You'll see that it's 80 to 90% accurate. That service is free. And to my thinking, going from that free service to a paid captioning, which would be ADA compliant, is not money well spent, not at this time. Does that answer your question?
It does, and I want to say first that, I thank you and your team for your work. I think it's integral to transparency and to the public being able to follow local government matters, so thank you very much. I have used that captioning tool on YouTube, and I just have one question. On the television iteration, when it's actually on the TV, are there captions then?
No.
Okay. You had said you would prefer that you did have the ability to do this if the funding was there.
Yes.
My question then would be for the city's finance director, do we have any funding resources of any sort that could help meet the shortfall?
So, we get franchise fees each year, and those are allocated between public access and really offsetting our general fund expenses, police services, fire services, streets. So it's, definitely in the council's authority to reallocate those franchise fees. I guess I'd make a recommendation that you do that and consider that for the 2021 budget, since the 2020 budget is set and, we're in the month of August. So, we wouldn't have a lot of time to react to that reallocation, but that certainly could be a conversation that, we could have sooner versus later, or a directive that the council could give, that we, make accommodations in the budget for that. I guess one other thing, those franchise fees definitely are not growing by any means because of, people spending more time using the internet for entertainment purposes. And so the cable TV is basically declining. We have TDS coming in. We're not really sure what that financial impact of another carrier will be. They came in and gave us a presentation at one time. They wanted us to give them about $700,000 to defray their underground work, and we told them no. But they, at the time, said that they were going to attract a bigger market, not just steal from our existing cable franchise, but, look to get to DirecTV and some of those satellite providers. And so it would actually grow our franchise fees. So, maybe we would see a growth. I mean, TDS right now, I think, is just in the midst of creating that market. But that certainly would be another goal that you could say any growth, any revenues from TDS would be allocated to this. That would be another option, if you wanted some ideas.
I see Dave wants to chime in on this discussion.
Yeah, and for the uninitiated, it's very important to understand that the franchise fee is attached to the cable packages, so for channels, not for internet. So if the growth is in internet, we wouldn't see a growth in franchise fee, as Mary Ann pointed out.
Thank you for that information. I think you guys work magic with what you have, and thank you for everything you do. And perhaps if this is not the appropriate time, given the timing of the year, to initiate that budget discussion now, could we perhaps get a memo in the very near future, say in the next 4 to 8 weeks, which would tell us, this body, exactly how we would fund closed caption, so that we can make sure that all of our citizens, even those with disabilities, are involved in our processes, and then we could perhaps do both of these things.
And would you want that to go to a committee for consideration?
Probably, it makes sense to me to go to finance.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. We've looked at, in the past councils, have looked at a couple different times, ways that we could finance and ramp up the budget for public access. And, you know, I can recall when I first came on the council, and that was before the Great Recession, public access had a robust budget, in fact, including a full-time employee that had a very large salary. The recession hit, they downsized that employee. We were forced to downsize the funding, and the budget was dialed down significantly, to the point where at one point we had the channels dark. And so we were able to, through a number of budget cycles, not only bring the channels back online, but expand the programming to include all of our meetings, not just council meetings, and, you know, really get enough funding so that Dave and Chris at Public Access can really start to produce other things for other facilities. And so, and that makes money for us, so that helps. And so, you know, I think that it would be a good goal for us to look at, you know, finding ways to increase funding to public access, because it's a valuable communication. It's a huge communication tool for us. I mean, what better communication tool than to have your own TV stations, which we do. So I think we would have to look at that, though, in step-ups and not one big bite, because whatever we would siphon away from the general fund in terms of cable franchise fees that are currently fulfilling that obligation, if you would have to then shift those costs to the levy, $25,000 is 1 cent on your mill rate. And so we have to be mindful of the impact to taxpayers and tax bills. If we take a fund source away from the general fund, we're going to have to find a replacing fund source to pay our bills with, or our obligations with. And a lot of that is public safety and staffing stuff. So, you know, but I think that there's a way that we could incrementally look to increase, you know, as people move, like Mary Ann said, to either live stream services or satellite. Cable is a less desirable option. And so those fees are certainly not getting bigger, but, you know, I think that it would make sense for us to look at ways where, you know, we could do a series of small bumps, and maybe we can't get away from the YouTube closed captioning immediately, but if we would look at that with, say, a 3 to 5 year goal, and, you know, take small steps, we could probably get to where we want to be.
Thank you. I see Alder Ryans. Oh, maybe not anymore. Alder Killian.
Thank you, and I appreciate all of those realities, but earlier tonight, we talked about the Inclusivity Committee, and if as a city, that is, we're going to put our money where our mouth is, literally, then we can't keep kicking these things down the road. And what I'm hearing is we don't have money to include people who may have disabilities, and that is simply unacceptable to me, because time and time again, I think we have money for affluent developers, but we're saying we don't have money for those citizens who need these services. I think we need to make it happen, and thank you for that consideration.
Alder Martins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd love to see closed captioning on our live streams. I think that would be an essential tool, especially as we were talking about inclusivity. But the concerns that I have in offering this service is that not only may it cost $60,000 to $70,000 for the live stream captioning service, where they have physical people listen and transcribe what is saying in real time, but also in order to take that caption information and to feed it downstream into all of our produced products, it's going to take our own staff just as many man-hours to do that process. So we would almost have to have another full-time person in the public access realm in order to process all of that closed captioning, so that as the streams go out to our different distribution channels, the captioning is intact in those different channels. That's going to be a lot more than the $65,000 that's proposed for this live stream captioning service. I think in the near future, we may see live stream captioning that could be done automatically. Voice recognition technology is almost to that point yet. So it's not so much kicking the can down the road, but waiting for the proper time so that there's a cost-effective and affordable solution for us. So it's my recommendation that we continue with, adopting this statement as we have in the past couple years, in the hopes that we can come up with an affordable solution to provide live stream captioning, and then continue to use the free captioning service that YouTube provides for our produced content that sits on archive, and that can be watched, captioned 24 hours a day after the fact.
Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. I'm glad that Alder Martins brought that up, because last year in our Finance Committee, we did talk about that with this plan, was that as closed captioning technology evolves, more options may become available. And, technology, when it's evolving, starts out really, really expensive, and then it gets, easier to use and a little cheaper as it ages. And so if a product would come along that would get us across that hurdle much sooner, we certainly would want to use that. And, we did talk through that last year, that even though it's not available now, it may be coming, and that, we were content in the short term to wait for it. But I think that, we also cannot paint with a broad brush all city expenditures as one pot of money, because that's not the case. So we are not failing to provide closed caption services so that we can fund commercial developments, because they're two completely different fund sources. So if we were going to use cable access fees, or the portion of cable access fees that are earmarked to the general fund, that is a totally different process than, robbing your economic development budget, most of which comes from tax increment incentives. So completely different context there.
Alder Peckham.
Yes, thank you. I like the way the conversation is going. I've long felt that the franchise fees that come in and purportedly, or in the past, went largely to fund public access efforts have been siphoned off to a degree that I think is excessive, and so I would heartily approve of the Finance Committee taking a look at this and determining, looking at what the revenue is and how much of that funding is being passed on to what I think was the originally intended use. So thank you.
Thank you. Alder Killian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think my colleagues bring up some great points, and I think by hearing Alder Martin's explanation that it would take an additional staff person, then, I try to be pragmatic, but perhaps I was a little measured earlier. And in the memo then that tells us how we're going to fund closed captioned for those with disabilities, could you please include what it will take to fund an additional staff member, and where we could possibly get those funds as well? If we're going to do it, let's do it right. And then I'd also like to address I think it was a good point about the different pots of money we fund things with, but I think, in my opinion, TIF is not funny money by any means. We're not pulling it I think out of a monopoly board, this is public money, and as an example, I think we spent $30K plus to put red bricks on Thomas Street, so I think where there's a will, there's a way, and hopefully, I have confidence in our city's finance team, and hopefully we'll find a way. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? I think we're ready to vote.
Peckham? Martins? Killian?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Wodinski?
Aye.
McElhaney? Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson? Herbst? Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 190405, resolution from the Finance Committee approving interlocal agreement between the City of Wasa and Marathon County for the 2020 Burn Justice Assistant Grant Program Award. Do I have a motion? Motion by Rasmussen. Second by Wodinski. Is there any discussion on this item? Not seeing any. I think we're ready to vote.
McElhaney? Wodinski?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Martins?
Aye.
Peckham? Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson? Herbst? Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. We are on the last item, right? Yep, last item of our agenda, public comment and suggestions. If there's anyone who would like to make a public comment. I guess I don't have a public comment, but I did want to let this body know that I'm working with the Marathon County Board on a joint implicit bias training. So mark your, you'll be able to take it virtually. So mark your calendar, please, for August 27th. That's what we've narrowed down on. So I'll send out more information later. All right, I would take a motion to adjourn. Motion by Herbst, second by Killian. Anyone opposed? We're done. Thank you, everyone.